No punches pulled at a hearing today for President Trump's pick to replace Kristi Noem as the head of the Department of Homeland Security. Watch here as Senator Rand Paul pressed Senator Markwayne Mullin on past comments he had made about why Paul was attacked violently by a neighbor in 2017.
You told the media that I was a freaking snake and that you completely understood why I had been assaulted. I was shocked that you would justify and celebrate this violent assault. That caused me so much pain. If someone who applauds violence against their political opponents is the right person to lead an agency that has struggled to accept limits to the proper use of force, you have never had the courage to look me in the eye and tell me that the assault was justified. So today you'll have your chance.
Senator Paul is the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee and joins us now. Senator Paul, welcome to you. It's been quite a day. There was quite a few clashes there. Has Markwayne Mullin ever apologized for those comments?
No, and I think his anger issues that he has as an individual and his celebration of the violence that happened to me, but also his justification of the violence when he's engaged in, he was ready to have a fist fight in a committee. And when they asked him after he had cooled off days later, would he reject any of that? Does he regret any of it? And he said no, he had no regrets. In fact, he referred to historical examples of violence as justification. He said, well, yeah, we've always had canings and duels. And he seemed oblivious to the fact, and I pointed it out to him again today, the duels were illegal 170 years ago when they happened. People would flee the jurisdiction to get away from the police because it was already illegal to have duels. But nobody really in the modern age that I know of, other than Markwayne Mullin, is justifying political violence as, oh, well, we need a manly way to settle our differences, and sometimes people just need to be punched in the mouth. That to me is bizarre and I think makes him unfit to lead federal law enforcement.
So can you vote for him?
No. I mean, an apology might have had a chance, but he's had several chances. I talked to him privately, and he referred to it that we had political differences, and today he said we should set aside our political differences. Well, political differences would be, I'm against the refugee welfare program, and I've told him he's for it. That's a political difference. But if I wished violence on his family, that wouldn't be acceptable. And if he says the violence that happened to me, where I had 6 ribs broken, my lung damaged, part of my lung removed, 2 pneumonias, if he thinks that's justifiable and he can readily understand it, he can completely understand it, I think that makes him unacceptable and unfit to hold office.
Okay, so quite clearly, obviously, you just said that you're a no.
Right.
There's going to be others. Obviously, Leader Thune's going to wonder if you can come around on that. Here's how he reacted to the exchange on the Hill. He said Rand and Markwayne have some personal history, which they're going to have to work through. Obviously, today's hearing sounds a little spicy at times, but at the end of the day, it comes back to the job, and it comes back to the right person for the job, and I think Markwayne is the right person. So what do you tell Thune? I mean, is there a possibility you could come around? You just said you met with Mullin after the hearing concluded. This after there was a heated exchange between the two of you about this trip you have questions over in 2015. He said that there was classified information he didn't feel like it was publicly appropriate to share. You agreed to meet him in a secured area. It was suggested a skiff. You said that happened. So what can you tell us came from that meeting about that trip?
Well, it's classified, so of course by doing it in a classified hearing, almost nothing is able to be revealed. But whether or not this is a personal sort of disagreement, it is not a personal disagreement when one of your colleagues says that they can completely understand why 6 of your ribs were broken, your lung was damaged, I had part of my lung removed. I had an infection, I had an infection that had a 25% death rate. So, I mean, no, I went through hell. And anybody who thinks that that's something that's commendable is an unfit person to lead law enforcement. But it's not just that, it's his reaction in committees jumping up, saying he'll fight the person there, taking his wedding ring off. And then the idea that really, it's justified because we've had canings before. I asked him about Charles Sumner, the famous abolitionist who was bludgeoned nearly to death. He's unconscious, laying on the ground, blood coming out of his ear, blood coming out of his mouth. He is unconscious, and the thug from South Carolina kept beating him. He could have been dead for all he knew, and there was another representative from South Carolina with a gun holding everyone back so they couldn't help him. And somehow Markwayne Mullin thinks that's a good example of when men were men, and that's the way we could settle our differences, man to man. Well, that's crazy. Nobody believes that. I didn't think in the modern world, even in 1860, they thought it was terrible what happened to Charles Sumner. And if he can't see that or empathize with people who have suffered from political violence, boy, I think he really precludes himself from this kind of job.
So it was suggested the vote could be postponed if you didn't get what you needed from that meeting with him. Is the vote still on for Thursday?
It is as of now, and we'll let you know if it changes.
Okay. If it's not Mullin, who would it be?
At this point, I think he'll get Democrat votes. And so I think he probably, if I had to guess, will probably still win without my vote. But I can't imagine a person who won't apologize, who basically says you deserve to be assaulted and have your ribs broken. I don't know how anybody, who they would expect could actually vote for that. And I can't imagine what kind of person with any sense of decency wouldn't have apologized for the comments. And I gave him a chance. I said, You could have said you were angry because I revealed how you voted on the refugee welfare. He voted for this refugee welfare. I had an amendment to repeal the refugee welfare. And he got a lot of grief at home because we put it all over the internet, not how he voted, but how everyone voted. We never singled him out, but he was unhappy about that and he lashed out against me. But the thing is, he could have just said I was unhappy at the time, and really I shouldn't have said that. That's what a normal person would say. But this is a guy who was justifying his fighting behavior by referring to dueling and caning in the Senate. So that to me is an anomaly.
Well, you suggested he could get some Democrat votes. Senator Fetterman and others we have heard already praising him for his ability to work across the aisle. Just final question to you. Should he hear what you're saying right now, and he's heard you say it before, and he says if an apology is what it takes, he comes to you and says, that was about your vote. You'd vote for him?
He was given a chance, and I doubt any sincerity that you come back and add up the votes and you don't have enough vote. So I can't imagine that he would. And he's actually very proud of endorsing the violence against me. So I don't think he's in any way. I mean, he's the guy, men will settle their differences by you punch them in the mouth. That is his quote. And he doesn't reject any of that. He doesn't say he wants to change. He doesn't say it was in the heat of battle. This is who he is.
Got it. We appreciate you coming on today. Thank you very much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.